Hello friends, this is Growl. In this video, I'm going to be doing a video review. Haven't done one of these in a while. We're going to be watching our friend Malpractice heal a 15 Sanguine Depths on Disc Priest. This is a pretty scary week. It's a Grievous week, so I thought this would be a fun little challenge for us here. And remember, for looking to get your videos reviewed by me or anyone else, hop in my Discord, check in the clips and videos section. I'll give you guys a hint. Generally, I like to look for videos that have some suffering and some pain. You know, if there's a run with 0 death or 1 death, you know, chances are I'm probably not going to look at it. You know, we wanna find some mistakes and learn from them. And I think the keys where we fail are the keys that we learn the most. So this is, I see it's a 47-minute video. I haven't gone through this, so I'm gonna try and do my best not to pause, and we'll just get into it quick. Need to make my cat a little bit smaller here. Okay, we're tiny cat today, just so we can see this party frame. And let's go. Okay, so first let's talk about his UI. Okay, we'll talk about his setup here real quick. Okay, I paused already. He's running the Shadow Word Death logo, which is cool. Personally, I would probably run something else, but this is cool for damage, and I wanted to try this one too, so let's see how it goes. And looking pretty normal stuff. Changeling, Ruby. He's got good Conduit, Swift Penitence. He's got the Kyrian one. His talents seem reasonable. All right, that's good. We're good to go. So we're hopping in the key. I don't even remember. I know this is a Grievous. That's all I know about this week. Okay, first let's talk about his UI. We might have to pause here, but his party frames are way too far off to the side. All of the mouse stuff that you have to do is going to be in the middle of your screen, and see how much he has to move his mouse from the left all the way to the middle of the screen. Even though you want to keep that area clean, your party frames are the lifeblood of your performance as a healer, and having them all the way off to the side is going to delay the time it takes to do stuff. It's also going to take your eyes off your character, which is not a good idea. So we'll also talk about some other stuff about his UI. He has his buffs. These are the LVUI standard buffs here in the middle of the screen. This is taking up so much space. Oh my gosh. It's basically blocking his entire character, and we're not even able to see our feet here. I think it's okay to track some buffs, but generally I would do it with weak auras with little icons, and little stuff like focused will and combat meditation I don't see any need to track. So we definitely need to do some cleaning up on this UI. Also, I see that we're tracking the power and the cast bar of every party member on our team. I think that's definitely unnecessary. Again, as a healer, our eyes are going to be on our team's party frames the entire key, and all this information about what spell they're casting and how much mana they have and all this is a little bit too much, I would say. So I definitely think we need to clean up the party frames, get the cast bars out of the way, probably get the mana bars too, move them to the middle of their screen. It looks like we have some weak aura issues there. I see Grievous twice on their party frame. I also see demon spikes here as well as here. Yeah, definitely some UI issues here. I think one thing that'll be helpful to you is to watch back this recording and just see how strong-armed you were and how hard this was for you to heal with all this stuff going on. And I would definitely take some time and take some notes watching this video and seeing what sorts of UI stuff you can clean up. Even your cast bar in the middle of your screen, I think is this tank flaming the paladin's DPS? Yeah, this is going to be a great key. So this is Spiteful Grievous. Again, so in short, move the party frames closer, but clean them up. Remove the cast bars from the party frames. Also possibly clean up your weak auras. Get your cast bar away from this middle area. Maybe move it down a little bit and make it smaller. Also, move your buffs, make them smaller, or get them out of the way. So one thing I noticed is you just clicked your mana buns. You should absolutely have a hotkey for mana buns. I talked about this with the last guy who played Disc Priest. Mana is so important on Disc Priest, and you need those mana buns. So like right here, bam, mana bun. So right here, this is a pull where you're going to have to chain a few packs together, and you're going to need to get your mana up real quick. In general, during Grievous, it's sort of the responsibility of the team to kind of get themselves topped while you get mana. And this is a situation where, see how you're like watching the hunter to see what he's doing, but don't worry about the hunter. Just get your mana up. There's going to be some chain pulls. I like that you gripped him. That was very nice of you. But again, we're starting this pull with 70% mana as opposed to 100%, which we could have easily started with. So we're starting off the pull here pretty well. We are putting Purge the Wicked on all the mobs. I noticed we haven't used Power Infusion yet. I know it can be hard to get invited to groups as a priest, but when you're using good Power Infusions on your DPS, when you're really juicing them up and making them feel good, they're going to want to play with you. So don't forget to use that Power Infusion. Make sure you're throwing it out on anybody. Usually I'll just throw it on the Ret Paladin if he's got wings, or, you know, even the Hunter, the LE Shaman, doesn't matter. Then maybe halfway through the key, once you figure out who the good players are, you can start concentrating those PIs on them. I know you may want to save the PI for your own healing. Yeah, see, look at your mana here. Look at your mana. Under 40% mana right now. And if we would have drunk earlier, we could have been, you know, clearly over 60. And now we're being dragged into this pull. Now we're being dragged into this pull with low mana, and this is going to be pretty scary. So I like using Boon here. In a hierarchy, you may want to save Boon for the Pride, but for this spot, this is a really dangerous pull. I see that you're focus targeting the Tick here. I think it can be okay to kill those, but generally I like to focus target the Brute because it has so much more health. But that's okay. As a healer, it's more important that you're doing the damage as opposed to, you know, exactly who you prioritize. Okay, so this is getting a little bit scary here. So we got atonements on everybody. We're healing the tank up. The tank is going to be taking a lot of damage. I would be looking to pop a cooldown right now. We have Shadow Fiend and we have Rapture available. In a Grievous situation, we're desperately in trouble right now. As a Disc Priest, we cannot let this happen. We need to immediately start slamming cooldowns. It looks like we do use our Rapture and I think our Power Infusion on ourself there, which is good. I would still be slamming out cooldowns. We need to use everything that we have. Pain Suppression. It looks like we used something and died there, so I'm not going to rewind it, but that pull is a really, really scary pull, and as much as we'd like to save stuff for the boss and the Pride, I would be planning on, you know, as soon as you start seeing those Grievous stacks coming, like building up, and you knew that you were in trouble, you just have to start slamming cooldown after cooldown. You were a little bit late there on your Rapture and your Shadow Fiend, and I know it can be hard as a beginning player not knowing exactly. Yeah, see, he's talking about drinking in the mana, but it wasn't necessarily just mana there, right? You can't rely on just Shadow Men to heal through these really scary packs with the Brute, especially when the route gets a little bit scuffled there and it has the Brute survive with the Pride. Remember how I mentioned focus firing the Brute, right? Now you can sort of see the reasoning why focus firing the Brute is good. But, you know, we prevail. It's a 15 key. We'll be all right. We're getting out that mass res. Again, mana. I guess right now it doesn't matter because we're be killing that Pride, but you really have to build that habit. Get that mana bun on a hotkey. No more clicking mana bun as a Disc Priest. If you're a Holy Paladin and you have to drink once a dungeon, that's fine. But as a Disc Priest, you're probably drinking 20 or 30 times in a single Grievous dungeon, so you need to have a hotkey for that. So in this situation, we want to move forward. See how much time we're wasting here with the Pride buff, waiting for the boss. We lost maybe 5 seconds of the Pride buff. So as soon as you know that Pride is dead, start stepping forward and getting ready to blast the boss. One of your best tools. Oh my god, our UI. Oh my god, we have so much stuff in the middle of our screen. Oh no. Oh, I can't even see what's going on. I'm just stuck. What is happening? What is happening? We can't even see our character. Okay, I'm sorry. I should have handled this more professionally. Okay, so our UI was already I have to pause. I'm sorry. You know, there's a lot of players, there's a lot of people who play with not optimal UI. I don't mean to pick on this guy specifically, but we have to talk about this UI. So already we were a little bit we were a little bit too cluttered in the middle of our screen. I really like the way our skills and our target frames and all this stuff is set up. However, these buff bars and the cast bar was a little bit too much. It's a little bit too much in the way. And now with our bigwig showing up literally in the middle of our screen on top of our guy, I don't know if you got hit by one too many swirlies and your raid leader told you to put it there or what, but I swear if you move all this UI stuff and clean up your UI, you're immediately going to be doing like 22 keys. If you're healing 15 keys with this kind of UI, you're going to like ascend to the next level if you clean up this UI. Okay, so quickly let's talk about the this boss here. He uses his Severing Smash. By now we should already be planning out our cooldown. I see we have a Rapture. I don't know if we've used it. I think we have shields out on everyone already, which is good. In this situation, we need to be spamming those Shadowmens. That we can use our penance and stuff, obviously, but immediately top everybody. No greeting out, especially seeing that the boss's health is real low. I know we want to blast them here, but we're almost never going to overcome grievous damage as a disc priest, so make sure we're ready to quick get people out. Another consideration when you're fighting that boss on a higher level is mana. You'll be able to spam out those Shadowmens during the pride buff. I guess pride's going away pretty soon, so we won't talk too much about pride. The shaman said, "Did you power infuse me?" in the chat. I don't know if you guys I'll keep his chat covered for privacy reasons. So I like that we use our barrier here. Great use of barrier on a pack that has lots of surprising random damage that comes out in the middle of the pack. So this was an absolutely perfect pack to use barrier on, considering that we didn't have to use it for the boss. Didn't watch too much else, but as a disc priest, the theme here is going to be cooldown use, using your cooldowns well. So let's watch our rotation a little bit. We open up with Purge the Wicked, we Penance, we Mind Blast, we Smite. It seems like our damage rotation is pretty reasonable. You know, we're not overhealing at all, but when our tank is getting into Grievous, we're pretty quick to digging them out right there. Going through our DPS rotation. So right away, I'm already looking at what cooldowns I have for next pack. So I see I have PI. I'm going to want to use PI on a DPS in the next pull. I have Shadow Fiend or Rapture. I'd probably be tempted to use Shadow Fiend here and then save the Rapture, but either one I think is fine. So let's see how we go in here. We're using our feathers. We're purging up our guys. These Overseers are a pretty dangerous pack, so I would plan to use a cooldown. So see, we're definitely underutilizing our power infusion here. As a disc priest, again, one of the best things you can be doing for your team is throwing a power infusion on your allies, giving him that big damage juice, like your Ret Paladin there when he's popping wings. We're spamming that Shadowman, and see how we're falling behind a little bit. Now, granted, we got silence, so it was a bit unfortunate, but see how without a big cooldown there, either Shadow Fiend or Rapture, how we're starting to fall behind. And now we're kind of like, well, do we pop a cooldown? It's a little bit late. Really good that we masked the spell here. Priest is actually really nice for these over magic debuff pulls. And again, see how scary this is now. Look at our health. We're very, very far behind on Grievous, and we spent a lot of mana shadow mending, right? Why did we have to do so much shadow mending? Number one, the pull lived too long, and we could have contributed to that by using power infusion. Number two, we didn't use a big damage prevention cooldown, or rather just like a big healing cooldown like Shadow Fiend or Boon. If I understand this correctly, I think we're a Night Fae or a Night Elf priest, so I think we can shadow meld and drink. Again, right, I love our boon here. I don't remember where our last boon was. I think it was in that big pack. We definitely need a boon here. Boon is really, really mana efficient. Another thing here, I don't see your Kyrian files. There they are right there. I think they're on cooldown, so you use them. Remember, you can use the Kyrian files to remove the silence curse that goes on you. I like that you're communicating with your boys here. I also like that you're not being greedy with your mana. You know, you fully understand that you need to go fast. You're taking your mana when you can, and you're using your feathers, and you're not waiting till 100%. You're getting to like 80, 85, and you're catching up. So I think just be a little bit quicker with the mana initially. Get that habit of hotkey those mana buns, and as soon as the pull is over, just press them. You know, the farther you run ahead of the pull, the more time you get to drink before you have to run into the team. So now we're blasting this pull, right? Now we're blasting. It looks like we use Shadow Fiend somewhere. I didn't notice if it was the last guy or the guy before. So here's our Pride. Especially during Grievous, we always need a big cooldown for this guy. We have Rapture ready, which is good. I saw we used Power Infusion there, which is good as well. So we're not totally forgetting about our cooldowns. We're not AFK about them at all, right? But just make sure you're constantly using them when it's up. So let's look at our rotation here, where we used our Radiance, Penance, Shadow Mend. As soon as the Pride gets to like 10 stacks, we're just in Shadow Mend mode. I like Rapture here at about 12 or 13. It was even maybe a little bit late, to be honest. One thing about Rapture on Grievous is you want to be earlier to use it rather than later, just because you don't want everyone to get into Grievous, because Rapture doesn't do any healing, right? It's only doing shields. So generally with Rapture during Grievous, you want to air too early as opposed to too late. So now we're fighting this guy. This guy's pretty simple. We're doing a good job of actually using our DPS stuff, not worrying too much about our you know, healing or topping people up quick. I see we're using Shadow Word Death. This might be a mistake, but I would be tempted to be using Shadow Word Death. Here you're not even using it to you only use it to kill the mob. I would be using Shadow Word Death if I was using the legendary. I would just be using it on cooldown pretty much. It may be something I wouldn't recommend during Grievous, and which is probably why I wouldn't play the Lego during Grievous. But if I was playing the Shadow Word Death Lego, I'd probably be just using it on cooldown, as silly as it sounds, even with higher health mobs, because why not? It's free damage anyway. But yeah, in Grievous, it might not be a good idea. But again, probably wouldn't be using that Lego. So this is the area where we have to be really important to manage our mana. And we need to be really patient and watch for body pulls. And as a priest, we can't do a whole lot. Mind Soothe is a really, really good ability. If you ever have a free global that you can use Mind Soothe on a nearby scribe or something just to try and ensure that it doesn't get pulled, that's a good idea. Shadow Mending everyone up in between pulls. This seems fine. So again, right now I'm looking at our cooldowns here. We click our mana button, so I'm not going to talk about hotkeying anymore, but make sure you got that. Really good situation here to drink. This pulls very relaxed on tank damage. No problem at all here, so we can easily take a drink and not worry about it too much. You know, again, we always need to get the drinks in a situation like this where there's going to be a lot of chain pulling, because we need to stay as high as mana as possible, because we don't know when we're going to be locked in combat for 4 minutes or 5 minutes or something crazy. You know, and you can say, oh, the tank messed up, that's why we wiped, but maybe having that extra 20% mana or 30% mana would have saved you. Don't forget to be using your fear as well. I see you using Shining Force on Spitefuls, but generally I prefer to use fear just because it doesn't, it's a little bit less disruptive and it doesn't knock stuff around. Doing a really good job there, staying out of range of the mobs, trying to let the tank gather everything up. Here we actually forgot to purge the mobs. Looks like we're just getting them now, but make sure we throw our Purge the Wicked on ASAP. Our Ret Paladin is getting blasted here. He's having to bubble, that's fine. We have Rapture, but again, this is an area where I might be a little bit conservative on an easier pull like this. Generally, I'm saying fire off your cooldowns as they come up. One cooldown we definitely want to fire off, though, is Power Infusion. Again, make sure we throw that on somebody. I'd recommend, if you're struggling with Power Infusion, to get a Weak Aura setup that reminds you when people use cooldowns. I know these are maybe a few unpopular classes, but, you know, Wings, for example, you can just literally use Power Infusion on a Paladin every time he presses Wings for the entire dungeon, and it'll be pretty effective. So now we're fighting this guy. We probably don't need to use any cooldowns here, but we're also conserving our mana. It's kind of a trade-off. You know, you want to hold your cooldowns, but you also want to save mana. So once you start seeing yourself spending a bit too much mana, you may want to just decide, you know, fire off at least maybe some of the smaller ones. Something like a Shadow Fiend or Pain Suppression that isn't going to be a big get out of jail free card for you, but will help you conserve some mana, help protect the tank a little bit. But also the tank has meta available, so we're not super worried. And again, here I would just be drinking. There's no reason to run up ahead right now. We need to be drinking ASAP. Looks like everything's fine though. Now we're kind of figuring out how Pride's going to work. Might be a bit messy, but we'll see. But we did manage to get a full drink here, which is good. Again, just a little bit slow setting up there. You know, we could have purged the Wicked a little bit earlier. We were moving our camera around a little bit. That's sort of the stuff that comes with time. The efficiency, if you will, of the rotation. And just as soon as you get into combat, throwing out that getting your purges up as soon as you're into combat, making sure you spend your penance and your mind blasts and stuff like that. Okay. Looks like the shaman is telling the tank where to take the mobs. The tank is saying we don't have a Venthyr, so why are you telling me to tank it by the vase? Seems good so far. Okay, let's watch our rotation. We have atonements on everybody. We're blasting our DPS. Again, right away, as soon as it's 10 stacks, I wouldn't even worry about smite. I would just start getting into Shadowmen mode. I would honestly be happy just popping Rapture here. The Rapture will come up for the boss anyway. See how right now, see the situation where everyone starts getting below 80% health. Now we're starting to spamming Shadowmen, but it's a little bit too late. Again, on a 15, we're not super punished, and maybe you were right there by holding onto your Rapture and saving it. But keep in mind, it may have been, you know, on a hierarchy, you'll definitely want to use Rapture pretty early there. I'm trying to see where your Kyrian boon is. I don't see your Kyrian boon. Also, we only have one of the Kyrian potions right now, the files. So make sure we summon our little owl guy and get him out there and refill on those. You don't want to go to 0. Okay, I see Kyrian boon. It's in the bottom left of our skills now. And this is one where if you wanted to save it for the boss, I would have sent it earlier on. I believe our last Kyrian boon was on the Overseer pack before the bridge. That means we could have gotten a use out of it before the boss. And I would definitely line up the Kyrian boon with the ad, either the first one or the second ad. This is going to be pretty tough because we don't have Prideful for this boss. Not having Prideful means more mana spent, means Monka S. So we threw out Power Infusion, which is great. At least we're using that for bosses. We blasted this ad down quick. Be careful about using your Radiance charges on this boss when you don't need to. You're probably going to want to have 2 Radiance charges for every single ad, or as many as possible. So if you're just throwing it out to get atonements like you normally would, you may run out of charges too early. And we used our Rapture, we used everything. I would be looking to use a Shadow Fiend on this ad right here, since we don't... Oh, Barrier, perfect, okay. Little unfortunate for us that we had to... gosh, I'm not sure what I would have done there. I might have been tempted to stand in the Barrier. I would have maybe tried to stand in the Barrier and get in the corner of it, because we really, really need that DR as a priest. Now, we didn't use any of our defensives there. We still have Desperate Prayer and Fade, which should give you a defensive if you're running the Conduit. Remember to always press Fade, and remember to always press Desperate Prayer if you're ever targeted with Castigate during those ads. The combo, if you will, is the really scary one. Looks like everything went well. I would have liked to see our boon lined up with that second ad, but I understand why it wasn't, because we were targeted. Sometimes you can sort of plan to boon, but then you get targeted by something and it becomes a little bit messier. And we managed our mana pretty well, but it was only a minute and 26 fight, so nothing too super stressful. Again, right now we're shadowmenning people up, but in my opinion, just drink. Just drink. If they wanna sit on Grievous, at least until 50 to 60% mana. Like this is a death wish to go into a pull with what's literally 0% mana at this point. I believe we have Shadow Meld, right? We can Shadow Meld and drink. I think, unless I'm misunderstanding what that racial is, I think I see Shadow Meld on our bar. And if we're Night Elf, we can Shadow Meld and drink, right? So that's something you should definitely get in the habit to in a situation like that. If you feel like you got in combat and it wasn't a good idea, drink. And then... Again, even though you didn't necessarily need that mana, now look at the situation we're in where, we're like running around chasing spites and we have 0% mana. We don't even know which way to go. But luckily we're able to get our mana. Still very good on time. We have 19 minutes. We need to do maybe 2 more pulls up here or 3 more pulls. Then we can go downstairs. A good rule of thumb I like is to have 12 minutes after the boss. That's comfortable time. No, you can do it with less, you can do it with 10, but 12 minutes is comfortable time after the third boss. So we have 7 minutes to clean out the 15% of trash and kill the boss, which is more than reasonable. Okay, so again, I'm already planning out my cooldowns here. I'm looking and I'm seeing that the tank is about to run out of stuff, but so far the pulls have been pretty lenient. Nothing too scary here. You know, we haven't been needing to use anything like Rapture just to spam on the tank, or, you know, we've been using our paints up on cooldown too, which is great. Looks like our power infusion is up, so hoping to be using it this pull. Oh, we're going down. I don't think we have enough count here. I may be mistaken, but I think we're short count, even if we clear the whole rest of the dungeon. I might be wrong about this, but I think 67% is not enough. So we use Radiance there. This pull doesn't do AoE damage, so in a Grievous situation, we got to be really careful with our mana. Maybe there was some AoE damage from like the fall damage or something that I missed, but you know, be careful using Radiance unless you really need to. I didn't catch the exact situation. I think it was just a little bit of the fall damage, but all this stuff is mostly single target anyway. Either way, not a big deal. Yeah, Spiteful Grievous. This is just so nasty for mana. And I know I'm being hard. I know I'm being hard on our friend Malpractice here, but you know, you got to be super crisp with the way that you manage your mana on a week like this. Here we are. We're blasting into this guy. Line of sighting. I can't quite see if we're targeted. The UI is a little bit overwhelming to me, but I like that we're attempting to line of sight. Again, remember that we can use our Kyrian file in an emergency. Generally, my mindset in a pug would be if unless I think unless I'm really cleanly line of sighting something, I'd probably just face tank it and stand out there. And then if I ever get a bad silence, I would just immediately use the Kyrian file. Okay, we're mashing our drink, but unfortunately the Spiteful is targeted to us. We just commit to going. This is going to be a scary boss. So right now I'm already thinking about all my cooldowns for each burst, and I'm going to be using one cooldown for each burst. So let's see what we have here. We're not using anything. Okay. So now we use Rapture, but I think it was, maybe it was okay. Maybe it was okay. Again, we have so we do use our Desperate Prayer and Fade there, which is good. And I guess our Rapture timing was fine. I would have maybe liked to see it a little bit earlier or a little bit later, but more or less fine. So now this is going to be the hard part. So now we're going to have to dig everyone out of the Grievous. I actually don't hate your decision here to use Boon. Boon is kind of messy to use during the thing anyway, the spell. So I don't mind just using it to top everyone up. Okay, so now we have another burst. It looks like our really only option here is to Shadow Fiend, so I'd like to see you power word shielding everyone and then dropping a Shadow Fiend on the boss just to help you top everyone up. Mind Blast, Shadow Men. I think we might need a little bit of help here. Okay, we did use our Shadow Fiend. Our team is really struggling with not standing in the swirlies though, and this is really tough for us. Our team dying means that the boss is going to live much longer than we would like it to. While we're actually walking over to the Ret Paladin and battle resing him. This was a heroic move. I would be tempted to power infuse myself here. We have basically no cooldowns and this fight is going really poor. Yeah, let's rewind this. Let's rewind this in slow motion. This is a really tough situation for us, but let's watch now and be in a little bit more detail. I haven't done much pausing yet, but let's watch this in half speed and just see if there's anything we could have done here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, so we battle res our friend. Okay, so here comes the Right of Supremacy. Immediately our goal is to top everybody. So right now I would be thinking there's a big AoE damage coming up and I need to top everybody quick. I'm looking at my cooldowns here and I don't have much available. I have a few seconds of combat meditation, but that's really it. The only button I have is power infusion. That being said, I have stuff soon, right? I have Rapture coming up in 20 seconds, and, well, that's really it. I only really have Rapture. But, so my thinking here would be, I need to power infuse myself, and I need to start spamming Shadow Men's. It's gonna drain most of my remaining mana, but it's what I'm gonna need to do to survive. So right here, we're penancing the boss. We're kind of in a pickle here, because we need to run and get the orbs. And we can't because we're a Disc Priest. If we had Rapture up, we can move around. We kind of get cut off. here it's hard. This is hard in the moment, but I think I would be tempted to run towards the middle here. A lot of the times the tank isn't picking up many orbs, so it might look like these are good orbs to get, but there's already a person over there, and there's actually some orbs by the tank that you can grab. So right here I would be ideally, I also need to think about how I'm going to heal myself. I can't see if we have a health potion available. I don't see where our health potion is here. We also used our Kyrian pod at some point, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so our top priority here is healing ourselves. Not having Desperate Prayer or Fade is quite unfortunate. One thing you can do, this is a pug, so you know, this isn't really in question, but keep in mind that the Pally has bubble and sack too. So in this situation, lay on hands and sack. So in a high pressure situation in an organized group, you can call for lay on hands or sack here and maybe keep yourself alive. Another thing that we could have done here is the hunter had turtle, so we could have asked for the hunter to turtle so that there was more orbs to pick up. But again, in a 15 pug, there's only so much you can do. You know, you can't have this coordination. So it was a very tough situation for us. One thing, going back, rewinding here again, this is going to be the last time I pause or rewind. So at this point, I'm taking into account that we have no defensives. As a priest, I know I'm squishy, so I'm always looking at my defensives. And the fact that I know that I have Desperate Prayer is not on CD, I don't have my Kyrian file or anything, I'm super prioritizing myself. So right here, you're healing the tank and you're healing some other players, but you are the only person that matters right now in this group. Because you know that you don't have defensives, this needs to be Shadowman on yourself until you're full health. And again, this is a really tough situation, and this only comes from healing this boss many times. Oh, we definitely need to go for this orb. These orbs are very valuable. Do not turn around for this orb. That's probably why we died, if I had to guess. If any one thing could have saved us, it would have been going for the orb. Also, remember, you can power word shield yourself too. I love the barrier, though. The barrier was good. The barrier was a good attempt. The paladin ends up lay on handsing himself, which is nice. Hopefully we can still kill this boss, but if your team wipes this boss, it's going to be a disaster. Talking about fault, everyone likes to talk about fault. Could we have saved this situation? Yes. You know, could we have played better to save this fight? Yes. Did we get absolutely trolled by our team? Also, yes. You know, our tank doesn't have lust or pride for this boss. We had a spiteful into the boss, so we didn't go in with full mana. You know, there was a lot of annoying things that happened that our team could have done as well. So could you have done something to make it better? Yes. Could your team have done something to make it better? Yes. I'm kind of excited to read the chat here. Does this demon hunter actually solo this boss? No way. No way. Oh no. Oh no. He's actually just... does he suicide? I feel like he should have been able to kill this boss. Maybe he... Oh, I see. He cheated. He just ran out of stuff and cheated. Unfortunate. Okay, let's skip ahead a little bit. The tank says we don't have enough damage. We may need Prideful. I mean, ideally, this is a really tough boss. You'd like to have Prideful for this buff. You'd like to have Prideful for this boss. Also, a big reason that you didn't have damage was because people died. There were 2 different deaths to the swirlies. Yeah, the shaman knows. He said if I don't die like a potato. I mean, look, everyone dies. Everyone dies. Wow, that guy had time 20s and 21s. That guy's crazy. Oh man, infuse me. All right, let's see it. Let's watch round 2 of the boss. Now we have lust, but now it's going to be really scary. Also, keep in mind here again, this is something that you know, again, maybe if you're not an organized group, you don't really see this, but I'm looking at the timer right now and we have 1:30, so we barely have time for this key, and also we barely have time for 2 lusts left. So literally, as soon as this needs to be go. Like we're Monka-S point right clock. We're on a very tight timer and we need to go here. So by waiting around for this boss like you guys did, you've basically given up the key, which is okay, I guess, if you guys have decided you've given up, but this is on everyone here. Everyone is just standing around here typing when the timer is very, very tight. But maybe everyone has just given up at that point. Maybe they said, oh, we wiped, so there's no way we can time this. But personally, I think with some bravery and ferocity, I think you guys could have still timed it from this point. He says, last try, go Lust. Okay, I mean, absolutely no reason we should expect not to be able to kill this boss with Bloodlust. One thing you have to be really careful of with a Disc Priest when you have Lust but not Pride is running out of mana. It can be very tempting, like, to just spam all your buttons and spam power word shields, and you don't realize how much mana you can actually spend. Remember to press Fade. Every single one of these detonations, you should press Fade right before it for that little 6% DR. Now we're doing kind of what we wanted to do in the first time, which is put a lot of atonements on somebody, then use our boon to keep everyone top during this. Boon is really nice for this because you can move while you're casting it. So if you're set up real nice and everything is going smoothly, then boon is a great tool to heal through this. So now we're topping everyone again. It's definitely a habit that we don't want to be in as a Disc Priest, but during Grievous we sort of have to do it. And now look at the damage difference. Yeah, granted it was Lust too. We seem to be very, I guess you just don't need orbs at this level, but man, I would be tempted to keep grabbing the orbs. We do press Desperate Prayer, which is good. And here we use our Rapture, which is good too. Our tank gets hit by a Swirly, which is unfortunate. Maybe even another Swirly. So here again is sort of emergency mode for me. Unfortunately, we're out of things. We did not get a new Kyrian file. We needed to summon our owl guy and get new Kyrian files. Should definitely get a weak aura for that to remind you that you're low. No reason, absolutely no reason to go into a hard fight. Okay, again, right here, right. This is the same situation, but we sort of learned this last time. Pretend the boss has higher HP because we didn't have our Lust, right? We don't have any defensives. We need to super prioritize ourselves. We're ignoring our entire team. I'm sorry, I keep doing this. We need to super prioritize ourselves and get ourselves topped. Don't worry about our team at all. And see how we're using spells on the hunter, and basically any spell that we did other than heal ourselves was a waste of a spell there. Granted, again, the boss died, so maybe we were just committing to it or whatever, but okay. So again, now 9 minutes. I said we'd like 12 and 10 would be doable, but with 9 I think it's going to be tough. So one thing here is I'm maybe going to start prioritizing doing DPS instead of pure healing. So on a pull like this, I'd be really tempted to just hold Mindseer and just hope it works. As much as we want to play Whack-A-Mole, you know, yeah, there we go. Perfect. I would have liked to see it even a little bit earlier as well, just to, you know, do maximal AoE damage. Again, we're going to need to kill all these mobs, so... maybe we're spending a little bit of time on the Spiteful. I really like that we drunk right away there. That was perfect. Now we're onto this pull. Now we're onto this pull. Now we're onto this pull. Okay, good. Your first globals right away. So we should atone tank, then purge the wicked, penance, right? So make sure that we're doing that right away. We haven't even actually hit a mob yet. We got caught up a little bit too much in shadow mending the tank there. Sometimes with pug tanks, you kind of got to blast them on pull, but when my demon hunter has fell dev going into a pull, I'm going to expect he's going to be okay for a little while. This is a really scary pull, so I would be looking to rip a spell here. We have Rapture available. We have Shadow Fiend available. We also have Boon coming on cooldown. Looks like we choose to use Rapture, which is perfect. This is really good for spamming out the tank as well. He's got his Fiery Brand. The tank is actually running Necrolord. I just realized our tank is a Necrolord Demon Hunter, which, you know, it is what it is. Little unfortunate. I think our tank died there. Another thing here that I haven't watched of, but I never see anyone in Pugs do this, is the Cardboard Assassin belt enchant. I guess we don't really need to talk about that because that's going away as well, but you know, that's a very easy help the tank out big. So here we pop our boon. Was okay, I guess. The tank calls for a wipe in the chat. You guys can't see it, but you should absolutely not be looking to wipe here. These mobs have 5% health. It's very important that you kill them. I mean, I think the key is basically depleted at this point. I won't go too hard on the decisions that are made here. It's definitely harder to give it your all after you know the key is done. But at this point, with another wipe now, with only 6 minutes in the gauntlet, I don't even know if a bear pull can save you. Okay, the Demon Hunter is saying wipe. We'll maybe speed parts up here. You're just getting spawn camped by a pride. Oh no. Oh no, we're getting spawn camped by a pride, man. What a tragic ending. I'm sorry. What a tragic ending to this key. Now we should be okay though. The pride isn't even full. So we'll blast it. Let's watch the gauntlet a little bit. So one thing to note about the tank's route, I commented on not having a pride buff for the boss, which was unfortunate. But if this works out, having a pride buff for the gauntlet is actually really, really nice. And this is something that you may actually appreciate a lot as a Disc Priest. And I'm not sure 100% if I'm going to give him credit for planning this out. But if he did, this is actually really, really nice as a healer. Being able to have a pride buff here is good on mana. So my mindset with the pride buff in a situation like this where I'm concerned with mana is I'm just spamming Shadow Mend. I'm just spamming Shadow Mend with my entire mana pool because it's infinite, right? And I'm trying not to waste any of my big cooldowns like Rapture or Shadow Fiend, right? Like, I think we popped Shadow Fiend there, but we had the Pride buff and we didn't need the mana. We didn't need the extra healing, right? We can just spam Shadow Mend. Like, if you have Prideful or some sort of buff and you're just, you know, Lust and Innervate or something, spamming Shadow Mend actually does a crazy amount of HPS. It's just a matter of it's not sustainable because of mana cost, right? So here we go. We're chugging through the gauntlet. The Spitefuls are making it very rough for us. Our nice paladin friend gives it a Hajj. Again, we have PI here. Looks like we threw it on somebody, which is good. I'm going to assume maybe the Ellie Shaman since he keeps asking for it. Don't be afraid in these AoE pulls to use Mindseer as well. I know we're mainly just prioritizing keeping people topped up and healing. Also, remember Shadow Word Death, right? I just remembered we have our Shadow Word Death legendary, but we're not using it. When we have the Shadow Word Death legendary and there are mobs that are below 20%, it is going to do insane healing. So do not forget to use Shadow Word Death. If you're going to play this Lego, you absolutely need to be spamming it. To be honest, it's probably a pretty big blunder from what I've seen so far, in that running the Lego and not just pressing Shadow Word Death on cooldown. So right here, the most important target is targeting the boss, and we boon here, which I think is okay, but we don't have our Purge the Wicked up. I would have really liked to see putting up Purge the Wicked on the boss, throwing a Penance to spread it once, then maybe using our Radiance and popping Boon. I don't think it would have made a big difference there, but having the Purge the Wickeds out is always nice for a little bit of passive healing and damage. I haven't been looking at our rotation like within Boon or anything like very tightly. I assume we're doing what we need to do. Not having the Venthyr was also a pretty unfortunate time loss as well. You know, a big part of this dungeon might seem really hard and really overtuned, but it's all about just using the buffs from the seasonal affix, using the urns to your advantage, and going from there. Because with all that stuff, the dungeon isn't really too scary. Okay, so our mana is really, really hurting right now. Our mana is really hurting. We've been in combat for a very long time. We tried to drink there. We were very thirsty, but we cannot drink. Again, we still haven't summoned our Kyrian guy to get more files, which is, you know, again, at this situation when our mana is this low, I'm desperately looking for anything. Okay, we have a Shadow Fiend, which is okay, I guess. We need to get through 10% more mana. I would be looking to power. It sounds silly, but I would be tempted to power infuse the tank here, or maybe power infuse one of the DPS. We absolutely have to use it. We can't use it on ourselves because we have no mana. Make sure we're throwing out those Shadow Word Deaths, man. All these mobs are getting low, and we can get some really cheap, efficient healing. Yeah, we use the Shadow Word Death there, which is good. But make sure we're constantly, you know, if we're running that Lego, we got to be sniping those Shadow Word Deaths, especially in a spot like this where we're so desperate for mana. I think it just ended up being maybe a little bit too much Shadowmen spam. It's kind of hard to say. It's really hard to say, you know, because you gotta top everyone up from Grievous right away. Like in a situation like this, what are you supposed to do, right? It's not like you can just not heal. You've done a good job communicating with your team, you know, letting them know that you're out of mana and stuff. You know, this is really unfortunate when your team doesn't have mage food. I'd almost be tempted if in like really big keys for me, or just, you know, if the key is important to you, if it's a Keystone Master key or whatever, honestly, just giving a little bit of mage food to your team at the start of the key, it sounds really weird, but I see you have mage food, right? You got some from a mage, even though there's not one in your group, which is really, really good. Great thing to do as a disc priest, and I would even be tempted to just give like 5 or 10 or something to the DPS in my group, just for situations like that where, you know, getting everyone topped and saving yourself some mana is nice. Because I'll tell you what, a DPS and a 15 key will never use personal food. They're not going to spend gold, especially after a key is depleted. They'll just stand there and stare at you till they die from Grievous. But for the most part, I don't think there's a whole lot more to talk about this key. I think gotta keep doing that. I think for the most part everything's smooth sailing. This next pack is easy. Maybe we'll watch this last boss, see if there's anything neat to talk about. Yeah, we're short a little bit of count. Actually, perfect count. We just need to pull the bat. Okay, so I was wrong about count. Nothing wrong with pulling a bat. Okay, we still didn't get our files, although someone else did. So we pop Shadow Fiend on pull. For damage, this is fine. For safety purposes, you may wanna delay it later, but you know, that's totally fine. You have barrier and rapture and all that stuff, so nothing wrong with just popping Shadow Fiend and booning on pull and trying to do big damage. But ultimately, like, you know, you're a disc priest, so how much damage can you do? Pretty lax situation here. The boss is only at boss is already half dead. Yeah, not a whole lot to talk about here. So I guess this wraps up the video. I didn't want it to go on too long. It was almost 50 minutes, I guess, but it was a long key, and hopefully there was a lot of stuff that can help you guys, especially for you Mistweavers and disc priests that are out there that are struggling a little bit with mana. Hopefully this information helps you. Thanks again for our friend Malpractice for submitting the key. I know it was a little harsh on him, and you know, there were some misplays. It was a little scuffed, and our UI is all messed up, but you know, these are the keys that everyone learns from the most, because I know there's a lot of people out there like this, and you know, worse than this, obviously. So hopefully, you know, I know people like to submit keys where they have, you know, no one's died and they time the key by 10 minutes, but I'm never going to review those. You know, there's way more to learn from a key like this than there is from one of those. So again, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but if you are looking to have a key reviewed, oh wow, this is this is messy. Remember, you can use the Kyrian files to remove this bleed. But yeah, if you're looking to have your key reviewed, jump in the Yumytv Discord. I have a link in, well, not a link, but how to get in the description of the video, and drop a video or a Twitch VOD or anything like that in the Clips and Videos channel. I'll go over them sometimes, and we'll have we have other members looking over them and giving feedback as well. Very polite from our friend here to say thanks for the key, and everyone quickly leaves. But yep, thanks for watching, and happy keying, friends.